Hello and welcome back to another Monster Monday, a series where I draw a creature from D&D and I talk about its lore and its history and what it's like to fight. Today's suggestion comes in from Oscar Wood from the YouTube comments, and he's asked to see the Gibbering Mouther, which I'm very eager to do. However, I do need to leave a little warning here about the drawing and the content of this video. This is quite gory stuff, again, more so than with the Null. It covers some pretty traumatizing ideas, and I don't shy away from that in the artwork either. So, if you are a younger viewer, please stop watching now. This is your opportunity to stop watching the video. Or if blood and guts and gore aren't your kind of thing anyway, this is a good chance to go and watch another one of my videos, or do something else. But if you're still sticking around, then I think we can begin. When I first read about the Gibbering Mouther, its horrendousness and vile life was so in tune with my own sort of nightmares that it seemed like some kind of eldritch calling to use this monster in some spectacular fashion. It honestly haunted me as soon as I picked up the monster manual. And although it's only a challenge rating 2 creature, there's not even evil alignment, it's actually a neutral creature. I think it provides one of the worst fates imaginable for D&D adventurers. I've used this creature a few times. I used it once to kind of spawn an entire campaign setting, whose culmination amounted to a kind of Gibbering Mouther god-like creature attempting to consume all of reality, starting with the world that my adventurers lived on. Although it's gross, I am very passionate about this monster, so instead of flatly describing what it's like, if you'll allow me, if you'll indulge me, I'll set a scene instead. You and your band of fellow adventurers have made a name for yourselves locally as a company of guardians, monster hunters, sellswords, and odd jobsmen. You've not been doing it for super long, but you know you're good at it. You've returned home from a recent adventure that took you a few months away at sea, but your home city seems a little bit more drained and insipid than usual, certainly than when you left it. Asking your favourite tavern owner what's happened to the town, she responds by informing you that some sorcerer stopped through recently on the way to a local village nearby. Many of the city folk have loved ones that live there. Some of them were even born there, but none of them have been heard from for the past few weeks, ever since that sorcerer travelled to the village. Apparently the whole town has been covered in protective vines, preventing the townfolk from escaping or even sending messages out of the town. This has raised a lot of concern and has really damaged morale around the city. Turning to your resident druid, they assure you that it's something that they can probably handle. So after a well-deserved day of rest, stocking up on supplies and selling all those many magic items you managed to find on your previous adventure, you make your way to the nearby village, a little perplexed as to why it's been left to adventurers of such repute as yourselves to deal with a simple magic vine issue. It takes only half a day's travel on horseback, but your progress is continuously slowed down by the paladin's horse becoming unsettled along the way. You don't think much of it. The horse has been at sea after all. It's probably still suffering from a long journey, getting used to its footing on land again. When you arrive, you notice what the innkeeper spoke of. Vines, thick as tree trunks, have walled the town shut, like a barricade. Strangely though, they're wet to the touch and have a deep crimson hue, and they emanate a foul metallic smell that isn't proving the stench of rot in the air that no one can quite place. Failing a nature check, the wizard falsely identifies the root as drow thistle. He's heard about it growing in the Underdark. He assures you that you should just cut it down. The barbarian gets to work and hacks into it with a hefty broad-sided axe. As she does so, a torrent of runny black sap pours over her feet like an inky merlot, and she swears with her elven ears that she could hear a faint whimper from someone nearby as she cleaves a path into the village through this mess of drow thistle ahead of you. When you make it inside, you find that the town is desolate. There's nothing here. No one. No soldiers. No farmers, tradespeople, not even the sound of stray dogs or the cry of crows overhead. Only more of these vines, smaller this time, but everywhere. They're in the trees, hanging like snakes in a swamp, coiled around buildings, writhing in the cracks of cobbled streets underfoot, even sitting atop the water like frog spawn. Taking out your sword, you nudge the water a little. A pustule on this floating growth pops. Suddenly an eye opens from that frog spawn-like substance, then dozens more. So many. Hungry, writhing, frantic little eyes without sockets, none to be seen, all now focusing on you. Something's wrong. Something is so wrong. You urge your party to leave, but against your better judgment, you follow the druid. They've heard a villager in the nearby tavern. Furtively you enter the building along with your party. The vines are thicker here. There's a voice calling, definitely, perhaps weeping from the basement. Your feet creaking on the warped floorboards beneath you, you head downstairs. It's darker now. All you can hear is the claustrophobic silence of your terror and your heart pounding like a bass drum in your ears. Thump, thump, thump. The oppressive silence is broken by another cry for help. Lit by your torch, you see a young man, unclothed in the darkness, reach out to the wizard of the group. "Help me," he says in a pained voice. He holds onto the wizard's arm with 1, 2... Wait, no, how many hands does he have? What was that, a tentacle? You look down at your feet. You can't move. Those vines are everywhere. They've grown into your boots. The ground around what you thought was a man is known as aberrant ground. Dough-like inconsistency according to the monster manual. You'll need to pass a strength check to break free and move, something that you haven't been able to do so far. The wizard struggles to break free, but the man's hand is fixed. Glued? No, it's growing into his arm. The man looks up with hollow eyes, which warp and grow great stalked mouths and bite into the wizard for one of its 2 attacks that turn, dealing 5d6 piercing damage, not something that the wizard can handle very easily. Its other attack seems to come from the shadows, a glob of mucus, maybe? It explodes in the air in a blinding flash, disorienting your teammates, but you manage to pass the DC 13 dexterity saving throw to avoid the slimy blast. But the light, that mucus attack, reveals the true nature of the beast before you. Not one man, but a legion of faces, hundreds of eyes and crooked mouths, mouths within mouths and flesh, veins, rippling sinew, tendons without end, so much of it in no particular solid form save for a few recognizable faces and body parts that you can make out in the mess of flesh. And that's when you hear it. The call, the fell chattering of the Gibbering Mouther standing, oozing before you, that earned this creature its cursed name. Help me. Help us. The pain. The pain. My eyes. Where are my eyes? Every creature in 20 feet, that's you and your whole party, make a wisdom saving throw to resist succumbing to the grotesque insanity of 100 villagers crying out in agony and ecstasy. The vines? The veins are the villagers. They are all in the beast, reshaped and repurposed in some maleficent horror. Some fragment of all of them kept alive, in there just enough to cry out. Most of the party fail their wisdom saving throws and are forced to roll a d8. Those that roll a 1 to 4 are forced to stand, mouth agape, at the grand, nightmarish extent of the horror of this beast's noise. Uncontrollably terrified, the paladin instead flees from the tavern, or rather, tries to. Panicked, he doesn't see the barbarian, who quickly cuts him off. She must have rolled a 7 or an 8, and instead, her insanity takes the form of her embedding her axe in the paladin out of sheer confusion and panic. The warm blood of her ally on her face grants her a brief moment of clarity, just long enough to realize what she's done. You, though, you passed, didn't you? Still fixed to the ground, you get to watch as the bite attack from earlier kills the wizard. He'd not expected a fight. He hadn't put up any wards or shield spells. He was cocky that way. Was. As you watch his flesh contort and become consumed and repurposed by the Gibbering Mouthers' bite attack, you realize that that will be your fate, and was likely the fate of the whole village. Those killed by an attack from this creature and its many mouths are absorbed and used. and then the round begins again. Turn 2. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed this one. I know it had a very different flavour to my normal videos, but I've always been horrified and fascinated in equal measure by this creature, and if I could impart that to you, it was well worth it. The Gibbering Mouther always makes me think of The Thing, the 1982 movie directed by John Carpenter. Maybe it inspired Gary Gygax too, maybe that's why it's in D&D. The first appearance of the Gibbering Mouther was in 1983 in First Edition's Monster Manual 2, so maybe there was enough time to watch the film and put it into the game. Maybe not though, but it seems like a strong influence. Although the Thing in the movie is believed to be an alien of some kind, and the Gibbering Mouther, or Gibbering Mouthers, are supposed to be a magical experiment or some sort of sorcerous mishap perhaps in D&D. But perhaps that blinding slime attack could be some kind of reference to the poster art for the movie, which features a blinding light emanating from a man's face. So who knows? For now, it'll have to be a mystery. But although gross, I hope you enjoyed it. If you really liked this video, please make sure to leave a little thumbs up, a little like down below, and maybe favourite this video. If you want to see more videos like this, I release 2 a week on Mondays and Fridays, as often as I can. So please make sure to subscribe as well. Everything that you can do like that really helps the channel to grow. So thank you very much for your help. If you really love this one, and you'd like a copy of this drawing, I'll urge you to head over to Patreon, where some of the lovely backers who pledge financially to help me improve the kind of videos that I can make receive rewards, some of which include prints of my Monster Mondays. So you get this one and all the other monsters that I draw this month. Anyway guys, until next time, happy Monday and good luck monster hunting. I'll see you later.